if we think we can answer them, Kristen,
Okay.
you know, if they're answerable, we'll shoot them out. But if we know, like, we're not gonna be able to answer this right now, we'll curate those.
Okay. Do you want me to answer them in the chat by typing them in, or let you know that there's question?
No, the chat is, you can just answer it right in the chat.
Perfect.
And
Okay.
Heather, anyone can jump in the chat and answer the question if you have it. Greg.
Perfect.
Where's the chat? In the YouTube link?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Jim was going to copy and paste those in there into our chat, right, Jim?
Yep, I was. Yep. So, all right, it looks like we're good again. So I am going to, the stream looks like it's going, and let me just check to make sure it's coming through now. All right, we're back.
All right, thanks, Mr. Monty. Sorry, families, about that technical difficulty. This gives us an opportunity to let more people in the room. My name is Chris Allen. You can't see me right now because I'm sharing my screen, but I'm the principal of grades 5 and 6, and welcome to our grade 5 parent orientation 2020. So we've got lots of people in our room that are going to support us here to try to give you as much information as you can to reduce some of your anxiety. We know on any given year, parents bringing children up to the 5th grade for the first time, you know, can cause a lot of stress, not only for the kids, but sometimes even more so on the parents. So we want to try to alleviate some of that anxiety tonight with more information. This spring obviously was a little different, but I think our transition team did a wonderful job. And I've got a lot of those transition people in the chat tonight, trying to support you and your children the best that we could with the tools that we had. So we had some things like the virtual trip through the school since the kids couldn't come. Mrs. Roberti and Mrs. Enos made for us. And we had a frequently asked questions document that we hope you found informative. We also had Google Hangouts with the 4th grade classes and some of the 5th grade teachers. So all of those are just strategies that we tried to do to alleviate some of this stress. And finally, the last thing was this summer, we had the 3 half-day orientation program for kids, which was also virtual. So thank you for joining us tonight. My name is, like I said, is Chris Allen. I'm the principal of grades 5 and 6. Mr. Gonzalez, you want to give us a little wave? He's the Dean of Students for grades 5 and 6. We also have a principal, Mrs. Furtado of grades 7 and 8, and her assistant principal, Mr. Alves, for grades 7 and 8. Although Mr. Gonzalez and I are the primary contacts administrators for grades 5 and 6, all 4 of us are available to you and your children. Jasmine, are you ready to read our mission statement?
Yeah. John F. Deering Middle School is committed to providing students with learning experiences within a safe, healthy, and supportive environment that prepares students to become lifelong learners as well as responsible, productive citizens.
Thank you, Jasmine. Well done. So what matters at John F. Deering Middle School? Relationships matter. We know in education that it's all about relationships. It's relationships with teachers and administrators and teachers, and predominantly students to students and students to teachers and teachers to students. So it's this relationship that we need your kids to feel connected to at least one person in our school, one adult, so that they always have a go-to person in time of anxiety or questions. So some of the things that we've done to help build these relationships, one of the things we did this year was launch a peer mentor program. All of your kids were peered with a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader. And the purpose of that is just so that your kids can reach out to, a student who's gone through similar transitions that they're going through now. We have grade level assemblies to help students feel a sense of belonging and significance. We know that relationships, build trust so that students can feel safe to take risk. And it's the risk zone, it's this taking risk in their academic lives that this really matters. And finally, we want to shift discipline away from a blame and punishment form of discipline towards a support in relationships. And if kids really want to be part of the classroom and part of the school and they feel connected, they're going to want to stay there. So that's another reason why relationships are hugely important. Being wizard strong, that matters. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does that mean to be wizard strong? And we teach the kids that means it's about being persistent and having perseverance and resilience. So that, if you have persistence, when something's hard and we're losing, we don't give up. We continue through the struggle. In the perseverance, we have stamina and endurance. And what perfect time in our lives, right, to have these kinds of non-cognitive factors to help us persevere and have resilience through this time of COVID. And so we're going back to school, but with persistence, perseverance, and resilience, we can overcome the troubles that we have and make the best learning opportunity that we can at Daring this fall. So growth mindset, this matters. We need for your children to know and to understand that if you have a growth mindset, that is, you believe with the right supports from teachers, your classmates, parents, administrators, and with persistence, the belief that with all of those things and with more effort, you can get stronger, which leads to higher achievement. We all know that, research is telling us that these persistence and perseverance, all of these soft skills are actually more influential than intelligence in predicting, how successful someone's going to be. But a lot of us can probably look at people in our lives and know that it's these types of non-cognitive factors that really separate people from really being successful. And then other people who are very talented and really smart, but they don't always have those other soft pieces, and they're not as always maybe successful as they need to. So it's hugely important that school is not only about, the academics, but we're also building these soft cognitive factors. Expectations matter. So in our school, we only have 3 expectations: be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. Now, we have, all these being responsible and respectful and safe. It looks differently depending where you are in the building. So it's really important for us to know, and for all the students to know, and teachers to know, and administrators to know, what does being respectful, responsible, and safe look like when you're in the cafeteria? And we actually came up with a list of criteria, what these look like, and that was made with teachers and students input, and that took us about probably 4.5 months last year to do. So if students are in the classroom, they know what it looks like. If students are at an assembly, they know what it looks like. When they're going to use the bathrooms, they know what it means to be respectful, responsible, and safe. So everybody has clear expectations at the school. We believe Choose Love matters. So Choose Love is a student initiative that is run through our school, and it's a new initiative, but it's based on these 4 pillars of compassion, courage, gratitude, and forgiveness. That this is how we want to choose to live our life at John F. Daring Middle School. It's how we want to choose. It's how we want everyone to choose their lives. So these 4 pillars can, really at this time, once again, of COVID, are really, let's just say, timely. Mrs. Roberti, you want to talk a little bit about Choose Love at all? Mrs. Roberti has been spearheading this initiative.
You got it. So it's one of our favorite programs, and it's actually district wide. So it's not just a Daring program. They have it in the high school, and then they also have it in the elementary school. So your kids have probably already heard about Choose Love. And basically we have a core group of ambassadors. We have about 70-ish at the middle school. And we were just starting to brainstorm ways we can bring in these pillars into our school. Unfortunately, COVID happened, and we kind of had to stop a little bit in our planning. We did a little in terms of distance learning, but not nearly what we would like. So we have to be flexible in what we're going to be doing. And we have ideas of what we can do for this year. And we look forward to doing that. And actually, a few of our mentors tonight are also Choose Love ambassadors too. So I don't know if you guys wanted to say anything, or maybe tell us what your favorite pillar is. We have the 4 of them up there. You don't have to if you don't want to, if you're nervous.
Oh, I know Zachary wants to share.
What do you think? So
I would share. It's just I'm not part of the Choose Love.
Okay, but
that's right.
you can
He's
talk
one of
about the
our
mentors, Zach.
What?
Do you want to talk about being a mentor? Because that was a few slides ago. I probably should have given you an opportunity then.
Oh, okay. Being a mentor so far has been pretty fun. Going to all the meets and getting to meet different people. It's been fun.
Good.
Excellent.
I've got to say.
Excellent. I'm glad it's fun for you. You think it's been helpful to your mentee?
Yeah, I think it has.
Yeah.
Good.
How can you tell?
Because I think they always seem like excited when we'd first get on to the meets.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. Thank
And
you
you
for
know what?
sharing that.
If I could ask Jasmine, what's like one of the questions that the fifth graders have been having? What do you think is like the biggest question that they might have?
Basically, it's mostly about lockers and like the lunch order, like the different lunches.
Those are the
And
big ones.
yeah, I remember like telling them that it's like all of it's super easy. When you get there, it's a lot easier than it sounds.
Nice. Very good. And I
Yeah,
have to
thank
include
you.
one more, Mr. Allen, if that's okay
Sure.
for Anna.
Of course.
Anna, so you are now officially a sixth grader. So last year you were in their position, right? So what's your favorite thing about being in fifth grade? Like what should these fifth graders be excited about, you think?
Really going to the middle school is really fun, meeting all the new students, all the teachers, because all the elementary schools combined. So you get to meet a lot of new friends. I really like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you. All right. So what will school look like? Okay. We know this is not a typical year. So we know, most of us know by now, we have 3 models in one school. So we got our distance learning model, and everyone on Mondays will be distance learning so the school can get a deep cleaning and sanitizing. Our distance learning will not look like it did this spring. It'll be more rigorous. We'll be looking at closer to a full academic schedule, and we want it to run on the school bell schedule as closely as we can. So the rigor is definitely going to it's not going to what they experienced in the spring. A hybrid model, Mondays DL, and then students A to J and alphabet will go to school on A days, and they will go to, on A days will be Tuesdays and Thursdays, and distance learning days are Wednesdays and Fridays. And then B days are for students with in the alphabet L to Z, and they will come on Wednesdays and Fridays and do distance learning on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And finally, we only have one grade level, and that is grade 5 in the building. That is a full return model, and that is in school Tuesday through Friday. All right, so what is it going to look like at John F. Deering Middle School today, tomorrow, next week, in the life, during these COVID days and not our typical school year? So some things that you need to know. What will it look like? So students will not be allowed in school without a daily parent attestation form submitted via Aspen. So that's hugely important that all parents know that. The school doors will open up at 7:45 for an 8 o'clock start time. Typically, if in a non-COVID year, kids would be showing up around 7:30. They're not going to be allowed to be in front of the building and waiting for the doors to be open. So buses, when they come in, buses will actually hold the students till 7:45. And then we will start dismissing the buses one at a time, or letting the students exit one at a time. So there's a staggered transition of students into the building. If you are a parent who's dropping off your child up at the complex where the ice rink is, you should not drop them off before 7:40. But 7:40 is about the right time, because it's going to take 3 to 4 minutes to start walking down. Students must wear masks in school at all times. We will have some mask breaks. Mask breaks during academic strategies might be an opportunity to go outside if teachers have the opportunity, and students will still have to be distant 6 feet, but to breathe some nice fresh air. But they can also have mask breaks every period for 5 minutes if all students, if no one talks. And so it's more of a mindful time where, 5 minutes during the class, everyone can take their mask off. There's no talking, but they can just do a little clean breathing there without the mask covering them. Students must be 6 feet away from others while passing in the halls. Students, when they get off their buses and come through in the morning, they'll go directly to their homerooms where teachers will check the attestation form. So if you didn't fill it out, the teachers will know who you are, and we will do our own check there and then have to get in touch with you. The office will also be contacting anyone through a robocall if you forgot to complete that form. There are no more than 13 students per class, and students in that 13 will have to wear a mask and be sitting 6 feet apart. They also will be seating, facing the same way towards the front of the room. Students will sit with their class stable pods in the cafeteria. We're going to have 3 students per table. In order to accommodate that, Mr. Gonzalez has added an extra lunch. So now we got 5 lunches in there. In the lunchroom, your stable pods will sit 14 feet. There'll be 14 feet between stable groups. Mr. Gonzalez, you have any points of this cafeteria that I'm missing?
No, it's just we were in there for quite a while today, just trying to stretch it to the max as much as we can while being safe at the same time. And I do feel comfortable as a parent. I would feel comfortable sending my kid there. The stable pods, the kids are 6 feet apart and they're 14 feet apart from other pods, except maybe in a transition if somebody's walking by briefly. But other than that, I feel pretty good about it. It's definitely a lot less kids than we would have in a typical cafeteria in a typical year.
Absolutely. So on a typical day, we're going to have, little less than half our students in school at any given time. So lockers will not be used this year. So all 5th graders that had any kind of anxiety about the lockers, which is kind of a rite of passage, isn't it? Unfortunately, we're not going to use lockers this year because it just, it allows kids to start congregating their lockers in the hall, and we can't have that. So we have to get them to go right to their homerooms, right to their desk. So therefore, they're going to bring their backpacks with all their materials, and it'll be right next to them at the desk. Locker rooms for PE. 5th graders don't change anyhow, but locker rooms will not be used for any grade level at the school this year. So there'll be no changing for PE. Students are not bringing instruments at this time into school, but our music program is very strong. The performance arts programs are very strong. And it's something that we are working on diligently to make sure that we can sustain that program the best that we can under these conditions. All right, let's just flip to what a typical year at Daring would look like. So it's not happening this year. However, Daring does have many opportunities for after-school activities for your children. So there are athletics, grades 6 through 8. So that wouldn't have affected your children now this year anyhow. The performing arts, we have you'll see a lot on the next slide. We have lots of different opportunities there. We have a SMILE program, which is a science and math club. We have student council. Student council, Christian, did you run that student council, or was that Hillary?
Hillary and I run it together.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
You are correct.
Things that you guys do.
So student council brings kids together to put on things like food drives. They were interested in pets, so they put on a drive for Paws for a Cause, and so they were collecting items to donate to the local animal shelter. They try to go around, bring some cheer, and help out the community. Really.
Mm-hmm. Awesome endeavor. Show choir, school newspaper, we have band, chorus, and a leadership council. On here, you can see some of the different musical opportunities: a flute ensemble, brass ensemble, honors band, jazz band, a cappella choir. And here are some of our sports. Fall sports have been canceled for this year. But winter, spring, we'll see what happens. So in grade 6, when your kids get there, if they want to play sports, hopefully by then we will be fully functioning with either sports programs and our after-school programs. I would like to talk to you about parent communication. So if you do go to our website, we try to be really diligent about curating the most up-to-date messaging that we need on that site. We also encourage you to go to the West Warwick Public Schools site, which has, all of Mrs. Tarasevich's communications. And so once again, any updated information you're going to find on either one of those two websites. Bright Hour was our robocall where you get a lot of your text messages or calls from us. We try to not bombard you with those, but we know that most of you have a phone, and we just want to, if we want to reach out to you, and this is one of the ways that we do it. Aspen email, we actually have a weekly family update that we give parents every Sunday night, and we typically email that through Aspen. So if you're have an email in your contact list in the Aspen parent portal, then you will get access to that weekly family update, which is a weekly newsletter of what's happening at the school. So some of the things that you can find on our website, like I said, any new updates are going to be on there. They'll be on the top of the page. We have our West Warwick Public Schools calendar of events. So that's all events in the district, as well as the new RIDE school calendar is posted on there. We have the lunch menus are posted on there. Any Aspen logon information that you might need. And we know that Aspen is going to be a really hugely important tool for all of us, teachers, administrators in the school, to keep our communication open, because we're not going to be dealing with a lot of paper. And then you're going to find things like, your different departments at the school and your kids' teams with email links to the teachers. And if you ever have any suggestions on what you would like to see on there, we would love to hear from you. School lunch here. I don't think we have anyone from Sodexo here, so I'm just going to share this briefly because this doesn't change. The school lunch every year, the free and reduced form needs to be filled out. So, if you had it last year and you were able to be successful, fill it out again this year. Maybe last year you didn't qualify, and you might fill it out again. You never know. Okay, it's hugely important that every year you fill out this form. We will distribute those forms in the first week of school, and My School Bucks, you can log on from the West Warwick Public Schools website on the log on link. That's where you can have your account to put money into your child's account so they can have lunch.
Mr. Allen, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Please do.
Can I have my mentors tell us what their favorite lunch item is?
They don't have to. I already know what it is.
Mr. Allen.
I think I know.
Everybody knows what it is.
Go ahead, Heather.
So, Zach, what's your favorite lunch item?
My favorite lunch item is got to be when they serve it, chicken patties.
Oh, that was not the answer
That
we
was not
expected.
my answer either.
What about you, Anna? What about Anna?
Mine's nachos.
Just like your father. Okay, so
Jasmine,
I would have to say the breakfast for lunch.
oh, that's always fun. Nice. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberti. So one thing that we do have that during middle school that maybe the elementary schools didn't have, and that is we have a fast pass. Now, we created this fast pass just for the very thing. On Nacho Day, those lines can get pretty long. So if you're at the end of the line, the amount of time that you have to eat gets really shortened up. So if we see you, fulfilling our expectations in the lunchroom for being safe, responsible, and respectful, Mr. Gonzalez and I and Mr. Alves and Mrs. Furtado, we give out these little fast passes like you might get at Disney, right? To go in the front of the line. And so on Nacho Day, we always tell the kids, you don't want to use it today. Save it for when your favorite lunch is. So a lot of kids always keep that in their pocket until Nacho Day. And then there's nothing like being in the back of the line, showing that card and go into the front. Okay, I am going to pivot to Mr. Gonzalez, our Dean of Students. Mr. Gonzalez?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Allen. My name is Greg Gonzalez. I am the Dean of Students for grades 5 and 6 at Deering Middle School. I spent 2 decades as a world language teacher at West Warwick High School, and I'm quite sure I've had several of the audience members in class, and I was fortunate enough to have you. And for the last 3 years, I've been the Dean of Students at Deering Middle School. For the past 2 years, I have been working with just grades 5 and 6. So what I deal with mostly is behavior and school culture. So again, this hasn't really been modified. Some slides haven't really been modified from our regular school year. So I would typically talk about what would be a level 1, 2, 3, and 4. But I'm just going to say that a level 1 offense is typically something that happens in the classroom, a classroom offense, something that a teacher's going to deal with. A level 4 is something really bad where we have to, take a pretty hard stance. And levels 2 and 3 are what Mr. Alves and I typically deal with every day in the school, just our normal everyday behavior stuff that we have to deal with. Like Mr. Allen said, we do try to use a restorative justice system. When things go wrong, we try to use restorative practices as much as we can, where the child has to, evaluate that which has been done, how it made somebody else feel, and reflect on it. But sometimes we have to use, the Deering discipline policy. Keep the slide on for a minute. Our discipline starts from the time somebody gets on the bus until the time they get off the bus. All right. And it happens online. If I could tell you one thing as a parent, please be cognizant of what your kids are doing online, because that stuff lives with them forever. Everything is screenshotted. Everything is taken a picture of. People send me all this stuff. So please be cognizant of their online profile. Phones are not allowed inside of the school. They can have a phone in their backpack and they can, obviously use it before school and after school. But during school, we do not allow cell phones or any other electronic devices. I always put the mall in there to remind me of a few stories. So story number 1, for the past few years, we've had a school resource officer on the property at Deering Middle School, because from what I've been told, of the 30,000 residents in the town of West Warwick, when there's 2,000 up on Arctic Hill, that's actually considered like a police beat, because there's so many of our residents at one point, at one spot in the town, that it behooves them to have a police officer there. So for the past few years, we've had a school resource officer at Deering Middle School. So I use the Warwick Mall notion because if somebody were to get into a fight or were to attack somebody at the Warwick Mall, that kid would get arrested. So it's no different at Deering Middle School. If somebody attacks somebody, it's still against the law. And that is one of the reasons why we have a school resource officer there, because sometimes, legal matters do happen inside of school as much as we like to avoid it. They do happen. Finally, another Warwick Mall, I got to watch my Rhode Island accent. Another Warwick Mall function is, it happened a few times. So kids bring these really expensive devices to school. They bring an iPhone 11 Plus and it gets knocked out of their hand and gets smashed. And then a parent calls and says they want us to replace their kid's iPhone 11. If it were to happen in the Warwick Mall is not responsible for your kid's iPhone 11, just like we are not responsible for your kid's iPhone 11. So if it's something that you value, do not send it with your kids to school, please. Next slide.
Mr. Gonzalez, could I just jump on the technology thing? So you said there was no phones, from 7:45 to 2:15. We should also know that also includes like earbuds, like any kind of electronic.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Again, this is the next 3 slides are regular year slides. I'm not going to really talk you through it, but it's coats, hats, head coverings that are non-religious of any kind are not permitted inside the building. Anything that promotes violence, that includes a face mask. Nothing that promotes drugs or violence. Next slide. Again, big chains, no pajamas inside of school. We try not to have kids wear flip-flops. They're not recommended. No sunglasses or face coverings. Of course, not this year. They're allowed to wear a face mask. Again, I didn't really modify these slides for COVID. But if we do see something that would allow the student to change, we either call home and have students brought in. We hold them in a spot so that they don't show everybody else what's offensive on their clothing, or we actually have a student exchange downstairs. It's kind of like, not a lost, everything's clean, but it's a lost and found that we found over the years. And it's kind of, we just call it like the student store. And if something down there fits them, then we can have them wear that for the rest of the day. But the objective is to not wear anything offensive to school in the first place. Slide. All right. Encourage your child to attend school every day if they do not have any type of COVID symptoms. If they have COVID symptoms or if they feel ill in any way, please keep them home. I obviously added that for this year. So encourage child to be in school every day that they feel well. Notify guidance if your child will have an extended absence and contact your child's guidance counselor or any one of us for support. So school culture and discipline is not the only thing that I do. My actual favorite thing to do is to be in classrooms with kids and observe the teaching and learning that happens every day at Daring Middle School. And I just want to say that for the distance learning teachers and the distance learning students, there's still so much that I had to deal with in the spring for kind of like, online stuff that kids were doing that warranted my attention. So again, just back to the notion that everything is saved, everything that you do online can live forever. So just please be cognizant of that which is going on online. And again, my favorite thing to do is to be with the kids and to observe the teaching and learning that goes on in our building.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Doucette, our school nurse, has a few things she'd like to share with you. Karen, am I going to be using some of these hyperlinks?
Yeah, I'll tell you if to use it if
Okay.
we need to. So good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Doucette. I am the new school nurse at Daring Middle School. I actually came February 24th and was there 3 weeks before we went out on COVID. Even though I'm new to West Warwick, I am a seasoned school nurse. I came from the District of Providence, where I was a school nurse at Central High School for 18 years. And I'm still here. So one of the things that I want to go over is the over-the-counter form. So Chris, if you can click on that. The over-the-counter form are the medicines that I am allowed to give your student with your permission. And as you can see, it has their name and if there's any medical conditions I need to know about, any allergies, any daily meds, and then it's the list of medicines that I'm allowed to give. So we have Tylenol and ibuprofen, we have pills, and we have liquid form. There's Benadryl, calamine lotion, hydrocortisone cream, and antibiotic cream, so like bacitracin. Anything that's not listed on there, I need a parent and guardian signature on, and I need a doctor's order for. So that includes cough drops and Tums and Pepto and eye drops, anything like that. I would need permission from the parent and a doctor's order in order to give your student. We can go away from that. Okay. Daily medicines and frequent medicines. So we have lots of students who get daily medicines, either first thing in the morning or around lunchtime. Those medicines need to be transported to school by a parent or guardian or an adult. Students are not allowed to carry them into the building on their own. Again, I need a doctor's order for any medicine that I am going to be giving daily to your student. In addition to that, with medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, seizure disorder, allergies, anything that would have a medicine that a student would take as needed, such as an inhaler, an EpiPen, Diastat, those are orders that I would need also from a doctor. And what we're going to do because of COVID is that any student that the doctor and the parent deem can hold their own inhaler, EpiPen, we're going to try to encourage them to hold it in their backpack that will be with them in the classroom. That way to lessen students coming out of the classroom because of COVID. You know, we want to keep kids in their little cohorts as much as possible. That's not to say that if your student had an asthma attack that they wouldn't call the nurse or that he or she wouldn't come down to the nurse's office. But we're trying to decrease traffic in the hallways as much as possible. So a lot of times parents will I'll have a medicine, an inhaler, an EpiPen that I hold in the nurse's office for the student if they need it. And they're also self-carry and have it on them in case they need it. So those are both things that I would, again, need a doctor's order for. Care plans are something that any student who has a medical condition will have a care plan, which would basically be any information that I as the nurse need to know, and in the case of an emergency, any other staff would need to know. So we spent a lot of the spring COVID time. The nurses were actually working on our making care plans so that they were standardized between all the schools. So we have basically care plans for pretty much any medical issue that a student might have, so that they have accommodations within the building, so they can continue to be a successful student. EpiPens, again, same thing with the inhalers. They're kept in the nurse's office. Students can self-carry if the doctor orders it. And we have staff that we have trained to give EpiPens. Actually, all the teaching assistants are trained in first aid. And then there are several other adults throughout the building that are also trained how to give an EpiPen. Field trips, if a student is going on a field trip and they have a daily medicine that they need, or a medicine as an inhaler or an EpiPen, the doctor needs to say that they can either forego that dose, so they might miss their daily medicine unless a parent or a guardian goes on the field trip. I'm not too concerned about this right now because, again, COVID wrecks everything. Sick kids. So I'm sure everybody's very, very worried about sending students to school. The teachers are worried, the staff's worried. Everybody's worried about COVID. We have very strict guidelines that we've been working on all summer with the Department of Health. If your child is sick, you're not going to send them to school. Chris, if you can click on the sick kids link, because this is on the West Warwick Public Schools. This is the school health book. So this is just a resource so that you can go and see, if you're wondering, should I send my kid to school or not? So this actually has a lot of information in it. It's about 8 pages. Talks about the immunizations, talks about physicals, the different screenings that we do in the schools, medication, the protocols. If you keep scrolling down, Chris.
Yep.
It'll come to a part that has kind of, keep going.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Keep going. All right. Contagious conditions right there.
Okay.
So things that you definitely don't send your kid to school for. Now in the morning, you guys will be doing your attestation forms. So some of that will, overlap on some other things. So, sore throat, it could be strep. It could be just a sore throat due to, allergies or other things. So there are different rules about what to do. So if your student is vomiting or having diarrhea, they have to have not been having those symptoms for 24 hours before you send them back to school. If they have a fever, they have to be fever-free to return to school without using a fever-reducing medicine like Tylenol or ibuprofen. So this is just a good list. Pink eye, you don't send them to school. And of course, we're going to be a little bit more diligent, especially in the beginning as we're opening up on what we're sending kids home for. We will not be sending kids home for if it's a symptom that they already is part of their normal baseline. So if it's an asthmatic who's having an asthma attack, that child is not going to be sent home unless it's not getting better with use of their inhaler. That's not going to be a COVID reason to send somebody home. We're working very closely on students with their medicals. I spent the entire summer going through the health cards and updating in Aspen different medical conditions that have listed. I've been sending out emails to parents to clarify whether that's still the case or not. Some of you might have gotten them from me already. What happened? Chris, where did it go?
I don't know. Am I off? You are no longer presenting.
I'm no longer, you're no longer presenting.
Okay.
So I know everybody's very worried about COVID. Please feel free to, email me, hit me up to answer any questions you have. Again, we're going to be very cautious in the beginning, at least when kids are coming down and probably sending them home. I would recommend that all parents please make sure that your phone number is updated in Aspen to the easiest numbers to reach you, because especially if we have a kid that we suspect is COVID, we're going to be wanting them picked up pretty much ASAP. In addition to that, with immunizations, there are no new immunizations required for 5th grade or physicals. There are some screenings that we do. We do vision and dental are the ones that we do for the 5th graders. So again, if you have any questions, please shoot me an email, and that's it.
Thank you, Nurse Doucette. Awesome job.
You're welcome, Mr. Allen.
Okay, now we have Kristen Zielinski from the Health Hut. Are you here, Kristen? Is Kristen here?
Do you want me to talk a little bit about the Health Hut?
If you can, sure. I just want to see.
So the Health Hut is actually located within the nurse's office at Deering, which is really nice. Students can get seen there during the day. It's what I find the most helpful is if they've come to me because they have something like a sore throat or an earache or something similar. I can, if they are a Health Hut patient, I can go right next door and say, hey, can you guys take a look at this kid? There is a form that needs to be filled out for them to be seen by the Health Hut. Generally, they will see a child with parental permission one time without having the form filled out. Other things they do the physicals, they catch kids up on their immunizations. They have counseling services based in there. It's just a really great resource. Right now, it's going to be a couple of weeks before they actually come in and before we get things situated. And I'm really sorry my phone is ringing, but if I go to answer it, I'll be off screen.
No, thanks, Karen. So we are only one of 2 middle schools in the state that have a Health Hut in our building. So we're very fortunate to have that service. Thanks, Karen. Okay, Mrs. Roberti?
Sure. So I am one of the school counselors here at Deering. Mrs. Padalano is with me too, if you want to give us a wave.
Hello.
There are 3 guidance counselors at the middle school, and we all share the 5th graders, so we can kind of spread out the help. So it'll be either myself, Mrs. Padalano, or Mr. Keating that will have your student as a guidance counselor. And it's neat because once they get into 6th grade, they will have the same guidance counselor for 6th, 7th, and 8th. And actually, it'll be my turn to get the new group. So I will have your children for grade 6, 7, and 8. And I may even have them for grade 5. I have a small amount of them. So I'm excited. I also have a son that is in 5th grade. So I'm here as a mom and a counselor. So it's neat to kind of wear both hats. And I know, what you guys are thinking too, and you should be very excited. I'm super excited. We have the best job in the world as guidance counselors. So basically I say we are the heart of the school. So we are here to help, especially this year. We are here to help students. We are here to help families. We are here to help teachers, and we are here to help administrators. So basically whatever we can do to help is what we want to offer to you. Whether or not that's different, supports for your kids in school, academically, social, emotionally. One of the things we help is work on communication to help you communicate with your child's teachers. It's different than elementary school. I know on the chat, somebody had mentioned a supply list. Well, before your student had like 1 teacher. Now they're going to have like 6 teachers, 7 teachers. So there's a lot of communication that needs to happen with those teachers, and guidance counselors can help set that up. I did kind of put what our role is. This year does look different. So for example, I'm looking at attendance. We tend to have a big role in attendance, but that's going to look a little different this year with the situation that we are in. We do work with IEP meetings and 504 meetings. So if you're involved with that, you'll get to see us. And like I said, we set up the parent-teacher conferences. We also really want to help connect with the distance learning kids. So just because you're not physically in our building doesn't mean you're not part of our community. So we really want to stay involved with that as well. So if there's ever any issues, please feel free to reach out to us. I think there's one more. So this is just some tips for fifth graders, what parents can do. So your fifth graders will get an agenda book. It's basically just like a homework book. For my friends who are in person, will get that agenda book. Outside of school, I think that their teachers will set something up as well. But always check that agenda book nightly. So ask them to tell you what they have for homework. And if they say nothing, it might not be true 100%. So maybe contact the teacher if you are starting to doubt what they're saying. Encourage your child to make up any missed work. So if they do happen to miss school because they're not feeling well or for whatever reason, encourage them to make sure they make that work up. And teachers are super flexible. You don't have to probably stay after school or anything like that to make it up. A lot of them make time during the day, especially for fifth grade. Recommend asking for help if they need it. So the teachers are the most supportive and helpful people that we possibly could have in our school. So they want your child to succeed. They want you to encourage your child to ask them for help. So I would definitely do that. And then, communicate with the teachers. It's nice that, email is so easy. It's a little harder to communicate by phone. So just know that they have phones in their classroom, but they don't call out, out into the public. It's just within the school. So email is a faster way to get a hold of a teacher. And just know they are teaching, throughout the day. So they may have to get back to you the next day. And don't panic or anything like that. But if you have any questions, or you just wanted to introduce yourself, maybe tell them a little bit about your child, they would welcome that. And again, as a parent myself, I am thrilled that my son is going to be a wizard. I really am. So hopefully you are too. Oh, like Mr. Gonzalez too. I did teach at the high school for many, many years, and Mr. Gonzalez and I also went to West Warwick. So we grew up in this district, and there were a few other people as well. A lot of wizards love West Warwick. Come back. We're proud of it. And I think that's it for us.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberti. Thank you, Mrs. Padalano. Okay, is Mrs. Satola in the house?
I am.
All right.
I'm ready to go. Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Maureen Satola, and I'll be the secretary of the PTO this year. I also have students who are entering grades 7 and 8. My children have been there. This will be their third year at Daring. They were brand new to public school when they came to Daring, and we've had a really great transition for both of them. We've really found everyone to be quite helpful, and my children both really love going there. And so thank you to all the staff and the teachers that do such great work there. Jill Reyes is she's the president of the PTO. I'm sure many of you already know her. She was unavailable to speak this evening, so she just wanted me to share just a bit of information about the PTO. The slide that's up kind of shows a couple of the PTO events that were sponsored in the past. So some things like the craft fair was a big one, the Halloween party. We hosted a virtual staff appreciation week last year, which was fun. So those are just a couple of things that the PTO does. One way to stay informed of PTO sponsored events is to join our Facebook page. It's called the Daring PTO Information Hotline. So if you join that page, you'll see lots of different information on there. Be aware that, again, we can't answer every question, so you may be directed to email a principal or a teacher or something of that sort. But I've been following it now for the last couple of years, and Jill is very, very good about getting back to people and informing them correctly. So she's definitely really great at doing that. So I would recommend you joining the PTO information hotline page. There's also another page, West Warwick Public School Parents, that some of you may already belong to, but that's another source of information. But if you're really looking for one just specific to the middle school, that would be our Daring PTO page. If you are interested in becoming a member, I believe that there will be a link to sign up along with the principal's weekly updates that Mr. Allen mentioned previously. But you can also just email us at daringpto@gmail.com. So Jill just wanted me to mention that obviously with the current situation, we're not quite sure what a PTO will look like this year. But of course, we're going to strive to do a couple of different things and, hopefully build a community virtually. So that's going to be our main focus, and of course, supporting the staff in any way possible. But like I said, it's really, we have sponsored a couple of really fun events that the kids really enjoy. So that's about it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at the email, daringpto@gmail.com. Or like I said, on the Facebook page. I strongly recommend that you join that just to get some additional information. That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Sotola. I could just say that the PTO is growing by leaps and bounds and is hugely supportive of what we can do and give to students. So we really encourage you to participate and join. Okay, so student schedules will be available on Friday and through Aspen. Students will be added to the teachers' Google Classrooms for Monday morning, so your kids don't have to start looking for emails from the teachers. They will get notified of their Google Classrooms. And then, of course, if you have any questions, you can always call the school at this number. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh, I do want to thank everyone who supported us and helped me with this slideshow. I see I left Jill and Maureen out. But let me stop sharing my screen for a second.
No.
Okay. I want to thank everyone, first of all, in this Google chat that was able to join us, from our students, Jasmine, Anna, Zachary. Who else we got there? Just you three? All right, awesome. You guys rocked it. Everyone else, thank you so much. And parents, we are really super excited about having your children come to school. It may not look like a typical year, but it's still daring. So it's still full of wizard pride, and they're going to love it when they get here. So thank you. Oh, I like the W's. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. And thank you, everyone, for helping us out.
Hello.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.